welcome. A very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you all for accepting our invitation and joining us for this event. It's my pleasure to open this annual research conference IEEE Day-ENSA FEZ. This year, in those special circumstances and in a special way, we start our great event IEEE Day. And today is the day. We decided to open the door of discussion about some professional topics that could help all of us, students and future employees. So, we couldn't better than a career and employment prospect. Our goal is to build awareness around the steps and methods that an engineer or an employee should follow to make a good career in the middle and long term. So, what is career? What do we mean by a good career? What are the things you should know about yourself before taking any professional decision? What is the order of priority between a salary and career? What is the mistakes to avoid in your career? How to shift your career to project management and entrepreneurship? These are difficult questions, and there has been much research by most of us. But lucky us to find all the answers with our three amazing speakers, Mr. Mohsen Khdisi, Mr. Khalid Mshashad, and Mr. Oussama Haddad. And now, word to the chair of IEEE ENSA student branch, Mr. Oussama Magahi. The word is yours.
Thank you very much. I can't express my happiness this day. It is a pleasure to launch finally our IEEE Day event. First of all, I want to thank every person that contributes in this event, especially my student branch, with all its committees, media committees, program committees, design committees, and all the subcommittees that help us. Secondly, I want to a brief thank to Morocco section, represented today by its new chair, Mr. Nasser Asim, its ex-chair, Mr. Mohammed Muajir. Thank you very much for joining us today. Secondly, I want to thank our main keynote speakers, Mr. Mohsen Khdisi, Mr. Khalid Mshashad, and Mr. Oussama Haddad. So, I want just to lighten that this is the second edition of the IEEE Day ENSA student branch and the 11th edition worldwide. So in this moment, there is thousands of people around the world that present their IEEE Day. So I want now to talk about the topic. So today, our students branch this year shows a different range of topic that's consider the professional life, because all IEEE Day have the habit to choose a scientific topic to talk about. This year, which we choose something in the realm of career and employment prospects, because in our circumstances, this topic emerged immediately, especially in our country, Morocco, or all the Mediterranean parts. The problem of career comes last. We just think about the salary, the earning income, all the other possibilities. We just don't have, the majority don't have a strategic method of decision. So today, this is the opportunity to talk about. We have a really good speakers to enlighten us in this afternoon. So I don't want to I just want to thank all my friends, my dear professors that watch me today, and all the community, all my school community, and all the others. Thank you for being here. I really believe, I'm optimistic that this afternoon will change a lot of things in our mentality, in our aspects of seeing things, of our vision in general. So I really hope you enjoy very well this afternoon. Like I said, I'm very optimistic about it, and I'm sure you will gain something after it and enjoy it. Thank you very much. I go ahead to our chair of media committee who animates this evening, Nuha. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Usama, for your word. That was a pleasure. And now I pass again the word to our chair of IEEE Morocco section. It's our pleasure to have you in this event, Mr. Nasser Assam. The word is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of you from the student branch, DAY-ENSA, FEZ, very active really in their second year. And this is the second time they celebrate IEEE Day with the IEEE volunteers and community all over the world. So it's really nice to see that you are active. And I would like also to thank Si Mohammed Driwish, the vice chair of the students branch of DAY-ENSA FEZ. And of course, I thank Si Usama Al-Marahi for taking over and really keeping the chapter very active. This is a really very good sign. And I thanked also the vice chair, Si Hamza, of the of course, I welcome everybody here. It's a really very interesting panel of very interesting speakers. Si Al-Khdisi, Si Al-Haddad, Si Al-Mshash. I am sure that all of you here with us or through Facebook or anywhere in Morocco or elsewhere, I'm sure that you are gonna really enjoy this celebration, this event, and learn, all right? And in particular, you are going to learn from all these speakers. I would like also to welcome Professor Mohammed Al-Muhajir, our immediate past chair of the IEEE Morocco section and one of the founding members, really, of IEEE Morocco section. So I hope I did not forget anybody here. So I am sure that this is going to be very fruitful events and you are going to learn. So the topic, which is career and the job market, there is nothing more important to talk about than this topic, especially under these circumstances, right, that we are all living unfortunate circumstances. But I am sure that you are going to do well and just be ready. I mean, as the chair said, the chapter, student chapter chair said, I mean, it's not just about the technical aspect of the job that you are going to do, but it's everything around, all right? And have this mindset that you are going to produce and participate and I am sure that with this mindset, you are going to make progress in your career, all right, in your job, etc., etc. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. And we have really very interesting speakers that we are going to all learn from them. And I would like to thank you all for inviting me to this event. And by the way, IEEE Day is special for all IEEE volunteers, but especially for us in Morocco. One of our students was the one behind the idea of IEEE Day, by the way, and Professor Mohammed Al-Muhajir is gonna probably talk to us about that. It's so dear to him and it's so important to him and to all of us. So I welcome you and I wish you a very fruitful, very enriching event and interaction between you students, with the professors, with everybody in this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan. That was our pleasure to have you with us. And now I pass the word to the ex-chair of IEEE Morocco section, Mr. Mohamed Muhajir. The word is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Noah. I'm really amazed. For starting on time, you are doing very well. I mean, you are better than the old generation that we are asked. So starting at 15:30 sharp, so with no delay. Really, very, very important sign that our future engineers will be very rigorous about time, because time is very important. So congratulations for that, and also congratulations for the professional aspects. I see your well, this is my sorry about this. Sorry. This is my phone, so we are using the same computer. So the professional aspects, seeing all the background of IEEE behind you and the way you are managing this webinar, this virtual event, really gives to me a lot of hope that getting technology, using technology is something that you are mastering and that you are doing in a very, very successful way. So our first meeting with Mr. Darwish, Usama, and all your team 2 years ago was very fruitful in the sense that we can see, as Professor Nasser Hassan said, there is the sustainability of the activity of the ENSA student branch. And I must say that I have seen that in the eyes of Si Mohammed Darwish and Usama and Nuha and all others. When I meet them, I was sure that the students branch will become one of the most active within the IEEE Morocco section. So congratulations for that. And as Professor Nasser said, IEEE Day behind it is an engineer from the ENSA of Tangier called Salim Markaisi. So we are proud of you and proud of what you are doing so far. The topic is very interesting. We know that we are in a kind of crisis time due to the COVID-19, and when we talk about COVID, it has incurred a lot of issues, a lot of problems for our society, and problems and issues is heaven for an engineer, because an engineer lives around problems and challenges. So this is the best time, unfortunately, not easy time for you to innovate and to create solutions. I know that engineers go through very hardship within the university, so they are very keen to finish as soon as possible, start a professional life, have a job, start to travel, get married, build a house, and all these legitimate wishes that I think any person in the world has. But I think as future engineers, should go beyond this traditional thinking, and each one of you should have more than this, like a dream. So you have to dream about something. You have to dream about something that you may do or you can do to impact your society, to impact your environment. And for that, you need to identify in yourself your capabilities, what you think are your strengths that will help you making this impact. And crisis time is also a good time, because I know that getting a job now may be hard, But in case it is the case, it's an excellent time to invest on developing skills and expertise and enhance your technical background. So I think you have to ask yourself this question: what I am capable to do for this? And I will maybe finish, I don't want to be so long, with the say that you may know who say that like we know only too well that what we are doing is not more than a drop in the ocean. But if the drop was not there, the ocean will be missing something. You know, each of us is like a drop, and whatever we do is very tiny thing. But if it is not there, then it is missing. So I ask you to think, to be the person when you are not there, people will miss you. Your society will miss you. What you can do for that? What this small drop you can bring to society, and if you are not there, you will be missed. That's something that will keep you inspiring for important achievements above the normal one. I will finish also by thanking the speakers. I am sure they will bring a lot of value in what they will say about their experiences and what they will be introducing for you today. So thank you very much for being with our engineers, our hope for the future, for a better future. I thank on behalf of all the IEEE Morocco section who are not able to be here. I see that Professor Huda Shakiri is also with us. She is the chair of the Women in Engineering. This is another aspect of the IEEE Morocco section to empower women in engineering, which is a very important aspect. So my last say, keep the momentum, keep going, and if you need us, Professor Nasser or the officers, don't hesitate. We will be always here to support you and to provide you the necessary needs you may have. Thank you very much. Wish you a lot of success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhajir. It was a pleasure to have you with us in this event. Thank you a lot for all what you said. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you that if you have any question you have to ask to our speaker, don't hesitate to write it in the comments. And now, our first speaker is a great example of successful career, as he created his unique and exceptional path in the whole world in many different international companies as an engineer, entrepreneur, and researcher. Glad to present to you Mr. Mohsin Khdisi, who is an international consultant. He is a speaker in many local and international conferences about enterprise, architects, and IT. He is the CTO and co-founder of Neoxia Morocco, a leading consultant and IT services companies in Morocco. He is ex-chief IT architect in Agza, Morocco and Mediterranean region. He has 15 years of experience in its field in international context, especially in mobile and web technology and IT architects and governance. He's a digital expert, entrepreneur, professor, and keynote speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohsin, for accepting our invitation. Your presence makes us very happy, and I pass you the word, Mr. Mohsin. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me today. It's a real pleasure and a real honor to be with you today. Thank you for the whole IEEE staff, student branch in FEZ and also in Morocco. I really have been honored to be with you. My English is a little bit rusty, so I haven't been practicing it a lot in the latest months. But I'll try to speak with you in English, and I'll try to present first myself, but also some career advice that you may need in a period, in special period, which is the post-pandemic. You know that right now a lot of things are changing. There is a card redistribution everywhere in the world. Okay, but can you just give me, if possible, 2 minutes, because I am outside and I will just get inside so I can speak more comfortably. Okay, if that's possible. Because I planned for 4 o'clock, but apparently the speeches from the presidents of the IEEE section went short and very concise, which is a good thing. So if you just give me 5 minutes, I will I'll get back to you.
Of course, Mr. Mohsin, take your time. And I just want to remind you, if you have any questions for all the speakers, you can write in the comments, because we have a part that all your answers, we have your questions, we have the answers with our speakers. And I think we have to wait, Mr. Khlisi.
Lella Nuha. All the help, the students branch advisor in ENSA FEZ. So I would like to thank him as well. And if he's with us, he's welcome, of course. And they would like to thank him. And also, as Professor Muhajir, he recognized Dr. Huda Shakiri, who is the chair of the Women in Engineering Affinity Group here in Morocco. And I would like to encourage all young ladies and women that we have in engineering, all right, to get in touch with her and get involved in Women in Engineering Affinity Group. That's all I have to add. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. No.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nasser, for your word. I think Madam Huda, you can take part with us if you want to say something, because we're waiting, Mr. Khlisi, so you can take part with us if you have something to say, of course.
Hello. Well, I didn't prepare something to say. However, I invite all all the ladies present here to join us, and I congratulate you for this event. I would like also to welcome all the speakers. I had the chance to meet some of them in some events. I'm really very impressed about the quality. I mean the work you did and the speakers you choose for this event, and it is really an interesting topic. Career is something that we need at early stages of our studies to think about and to plan, and especially for women. And I mean, after a lot of young ladies graduate, most of the time they are busy with work and do not have time, and family, and do not have time to plan their careers the right way. So this should be, I hope, I mean, with the speakers that you will have good advice, and that you will be able to ask. I mean, don't hesitate, ask as many questions as you want, so that you can derive some insights and take the right decisions. I would like to thank you, and do not hesitate to keep touch with me so that we can collaborate in future events. Thank you very much. And I wish you a successful event.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Huda, I think. Yeah. Thank you very much for your word. That was a pleasure. Even it's not expected to have you with us, but it's our pleasure to have you with us. And Wordy, that was very amazing. And thank you for all what you said. Thank you.
Welcome.
And I remind you again that if you have any questions to ask everyone with us, the speakers or our chairs or even Mrs. Huda with us, you can ask us in the comments, and of course we will answer to it later. I think we should wait.
I'm almost ready. Just 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mohsin. Go ahead. I pass you the word, Mr. Mohsin, and thank you.
Just present myself. Nuha has presented parts of what I try to do right now, what I'm doing right now. I will try to present to you what's from where I come. I am actually I was born in Sufu, just near Fez, which is a small city. My father was a teacher, Allah yarhamu, and my mother is not working, so she's taking care of. She was taking care of us, and actually I grew up in a family where education is a very important thing. So I tried my best with my brothers and my sisters to, as much as possible, advance in our education, because this was the only possibility, the only opportunity to advance in our life, in our career. We are not from a rich family. We can be some medium wage family if you like, And we have been all around Morocco because of my father's work, because he was a teacher. So he was part of our life was in Sofrou, then in Taza, then in Mida, which is near Nador, and then later in Oujda for the preparatory classes, the class préparatoire. And then after that, we went to Rabat. So what I want to say here is that we, at first, I was not aimed at this kind of career. Actually, I was just a small child growing up in a very normal family in Morocco. And I tried my best to advance in my career so that to be an engineer. That was my objectives at the time. So I tried my best to be there. But my career started actually after graduation. So after graduation, I started by working first in Morocco for a short time. Then I went to Canada for a period of time for a master in software engineering. So I was there for like two years and a half. And in this period, what I learned most, which is more important maybe than software engineering and all the technical stuff we studied in this period of time, is the importance of serving your country. Because I just discovered another country, and I discovered what are the special things about Morocco and how we can do things for our country. Because most of the time, the most important questions we ask is what our country has done for us, which is good. I think we have and we need to ask this question because there are some rights that we need to have. But in the meantime, we need also to ask what we have done for our country. And this question was very present with me when I was outside. Maybe when I was in Morocco, it was not as present as this. But then I decided to come back to Morocco because there are a lot of things to be done. Because there are a lot of people, a lot of regions, a lot of students somewhere in Morocco that need guidance, that need advice, that need maybe some work with them. And there are lots of things to build in Morocco because everything is to be built. So this was one of the most important things I learned in my first years of experience, is that how you can serve your country and what is your duties toward your country. And this started me up with another type of career, which is parallel to the professional career, which is a non-profits career. I was working a lot, starting from 2002 when I went back. I came back to Morocco to work with some associations that are non-profit organizations that are interested in youth, in students, in engineers, and so on, in entrepreneurs, and so on. So whenever I had the opportunity to say something, to give some piece of advice, or to understand more the needs of these kind of people, I try to be there. It's not just to teach them. Most of it was about to learn from them. And I learned a lot. And when I'm saying it, it's not just like false modesty. I'm telling the truth. I learned a lot from young people. Whenever I was meeting them, either in engineering school or in undergraduate studies or whatever, I learned a lot. And one of the most important things I learned with the young people is this right we have all, but somehow we lose during our career, this right to dream, the right of dream. Young people, they all have a lot of dreams. The problem is that whenever we go into professional career, we start losing these dreams. So I learned to keep the dream alive, to reinforce it, to enrich it, to consolidate it, and to make sure that every time and you know, in every period of my life, I have this kind of dream. And you know that you are pursuing a dream when I have actually a KPI, an indicator of pursuing a dream. If you find out that 7 days a week is not enough, and that 24 hours a day is not enough, then you are really pursuing a dream. Otherwise, you're just living, you know, normal life, and you're, you know, every day is going through like just another day, and you're falling into inactivity, and you're losing your dreams. So just keep in mind that one of the main things to have in your mind, in your soul, deep inside you, is you have to keep up with your dream, with your dreams, and you have the right to have dreams, to pursue them, and to try to achieve them. So this is very important because, as I've said, it could be seen as something that is not important, or something that is not central or primary, but for me is mandatory for everyone who wants a successful career. I don't consider myself as having a successful career. By the way, I'm just trying to do my best, and this is it. There is a story I have learned in Les Fables de La Fontaine. I don't know if you know this. These stories about animals and so on. One of the stories was very interesting, which is the story of the colibri. I don't know if you know this. This is a bird called colibri. It's a very small bird living in a forest. And one day there was some fire in the forest, a big fire in the forest, and everybody was, you know, just running out from the forest to save their lives. So everybody was running out, apart from this colibri, this small bird. This small bird was doing this just crazy thing, which is he was going to a river nearby, and with his mouth, with the beak, he brought some water to stop the fire. And actually, whenever he is doing it, someone in his way was saying, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? Do you think that with this very small amount of volume of water you can stop the fire?" And he was saying this thing which is very interesting and which must resonate in our mind. He said, "I am doing my part. Je fais ma part." Which means that we have to do our part. Every one of us has to. Nothing is ideal. Nothing is as beautiful as you want. Your country is not necessarily the best of the countries you can find, but you have to do your parts. When you are a student, you have a part to play. When you're a teacher, when you're a professor, you have a part to play. When you're an entrepreneur, you have a part to play. But you have to do your part to make the maximum, not the minimum, effort you can do to make things better. Not just for you, but also for others. This is very important because it's not just about succeeding in a job, in finding a job. It's about succeeding in a career, but also it's about succeeding in your life. The best way to consider your life is to consider it as a career. You have to succeed in it. And to succeed in it, you have to be with others, to help out others. You have to be positive and to bring another value to your community, to your country. Then, of course, I started my career, my professional career. Actually, I had the opportunity, which is a very good opportunity, to work in the public sector, in the private sector, for multinational companies before going into entrepreneurship. I started entrepreneurship with Neoxia in 2008. Actually, it was somehow by chance, if you want, or by destiny. I don't know which one, but more or less it's by destiny. Actually, I was working in a multinational insurance company, which is AXA. And actually, I was offered a very interesting job in the Mediterranean region. Actually, I started to work in the Mediterranean region in 2007, and they offered me a very nice job as an expatriate in Madrid. The job was based in Madrid, and with a financial package which is very, very interesting. And the same time, I left AXA to start this company. The company was started as a very small company in a very small apartment. Of course, it was in a big avenue, but it's a very small apartment. And when I started the company, when I started with others, there was only one desk. So one desk, a small apartment, and a team of 3. This was back in 2008. Actually, everybody told us when we started, and in the first months and years, they told us that it's impossible if you have values. Because if you want to succeed in Morocco, you need to somehow forget about some of your values. You need to give bribery to have some projects. You need to be dishonest if you want to succeed. And of course, there are lots of challenges. You need to have loans from the bank, and there are lots of hurdles, obstacles that we were, warned about. Actually, we didn't do what everybody said. For all the projects we had, there was no bribery, there was no dishonesty. We tried our best to make as much as possible in terms of quality. We made sure to have the satisfaction of the customer as much as possible, even with all the hurdles. I must admit that many times we were, we proposed to us to, give some money to get some projects, or to give some money to somebody so he can, make things easier and for bills and invoices and so on. But we never did this. And actually, it was difficult. I must say that it was not easy. It was a very difficult task, because I must admit, for example, that for a long time we worked every day, weekend included. Sometimes it was necessary to have a nuit blanche, the whole night without any sleep, so we can deliver some of the deliverables that are needed for some projects, or to give a technical offer for some of our customers. It was not easy, and we were three associates first, and then we have another partner coming with us. But we tried our best to make sure that, first thing, we treat our customers in the best way we can treat them, without bribery, without dishonesty, without bringing money under the table. We tried also our best to treat our employees as as we can. For example, many times we didn't have money to be paid, because we started paying first the employees, and we did our best for not having, of course, all the employees were declared in terms of social coverage and so on, but we tried our best that they can have their money, was it a salary or a bonus, first thing before even us. And sometimes we waited for 2, 3, 4 months without having any wages. So this is just to say that it's not easy. And that's the best thing about it. Succeeding in the United States is easier than in Morocco. So in Morocco, it's more challenging, and that's the nice thing about it. It was challenging. Since people told us that it's impossible, so it's a challenge, and we considered it as a challenge, and we worked up it. And at the end of this journey, actually, I exited Neoxia in 2018, so 2 years ago. I started taking some distance from 2014, because after 6-7 years, we started distributing. I don't know how we call them, the dividends. We started distributing dividends for partners. So after 7 years, I said to myself, this is it. Actually, the company is now doing well, and there is a very good team out there, young team, and we must step down so we can give them the opportunity to work, to prosper, and to make it better. So at 2015, I started to take some distance. 2018, I exited from the company. I sold my share, and I sold it to make young, because actually we started having young people as shareholders from 2013. Because for us, it's the most important thing. The most important thing is not just to make a company, but how you can make it sustainable. So this is more important than having a company succeed. So this way, actually, as I've said, we stepped down. Most of the shareholders, the first partners, stepped down. In 2018, it was something like 50 people in the team. So we started 3 partners, and we ended after 10 years with 50 people, 50, and a turnover of 20 million dirhams, which means like 20 million dirhams or more. And we started creating subsidiaries from the company. So this is just to say that our intention was good. We tried our best to be as good as possible for our customers, for our shareholders, also for our employees. And Allah ma kikhibsh, because the intention was there. I won't say that it's a big success or something that's comparable to what happens in the Silicon Valley and so on. It's it's Moroccan size with Moroccan context, but for me, at least, it's somehow a success, because when you have like 50 families living from the work done by the company, when you have a lot of customers that are acknowledging the quality and that are satisfied, when you have a lot of people that started in the company and that are now shareholders, starting the company from when they were just out from the university, and they are now shareholders. When you see that people started with the knowledge and then they learn a lot throughout the process, for me this is a big satisfaction, even if it's not a success, something that can be considered a success in terms of figures when compared to the United States, to the Silicon Valley or whatever. But for me, it's a success. It's a balanced success somehow, because it's a success for everybody. So this is one of my experiences. What I'm telling you is just to tell you something that is important. As important as how to serve your country, you need to know that it is possible here. You can do marvelous thing here in Morocco. It depends on your will, and as the proverb says, when there is a will, there is a way. So you have to have good intentions, to have a real will and a good team, and you can build things up. So this is part of the story, because what I wanted to say is that in the meantime, from 2009 and 2015, I was also preparing my PhD here in Morocco. So in parallel with the work, with all the stress, with all the duties and everything, I try to still learn, because we have to learn from our birth to our death. And this is part of a hadith, I think, from the Prophet ﷺ. So we have to learn every time, every day, every week, every year. Whenever there is a limit in terms of learning, we have to step down or change or find something else. So this is what I try to do. So I learned through this process of PhD. It was alhamdulillah successful. And in 2015, I had my PhD, and at 2016, I started as a professor in the University of Hassan First in Setat. In the meantime, I tried to diversify my activities, especially aiming toward investing, because one of the things I learned, and I learned from other people, I learned also from some books, is that you have to develop your passive income. Passive income means the income that you get without doing any effort to have it. So passive income is very important. So I try to diversify my activities, and especially to invest in some companies, invest in terms of work, but also in terms of money. When I did my exits with Neoxia, so actually I invested in a company which is AgriData, which is one of the leaders in terms of digital agriculture in Morocco and in Africa. In 2016, so I've been one of the partners. Then I invested in retail, in digital marketing, and in other companies. Right now, I have a portfolio in terms of investment which is somehow diversified. So I try to have. I invest in companies in FEZ, in Agadir, in Casablanca, and in Rabat. Companies ranging from in industrial companies, services companies, software vendors in different activities and sectors, retail, agriculture, industry, logistics, and so on. And also I have some investments in real estate. So what I learned through the whole process is how you can also free your capabilities and your potential. Because in a period of time when I was in Neoxia, it was good. Actually, I was learning a lot, because you are doing a lot of projects with many companies in different contexts, and you're learning. It's all a process of learning. But when you reach a certain experience and a certain number of years in a company, you reach your limits. There is a limit called le seuil d'incompétence. When you do the same thing every day for 5 to 7 years, you reach this incompetency limits. So you have always to try to free your potential. So whenever I feel that I have reached this limits, I try to do something else. So I started the PhD. This is also somehow a way to learn. And then in 2016, I started working with for international bodies as a consultant. Of course, I was a professor. I had some investments, but I need to learn. And in order to learn, you have to be challenged. If you are not challenged, you cannot learn. You never learn and you never produce when you are in your comfort zone. Whenever you are in your comfort zone, you cannot learn and you cannot produce something new. So this is what I tried to do. So the first thing was, of course, sometimes there is another thing which is very important in my opinion, and which actually paved the way for me to go international, is you have to keep a good relationship with everybody, and you have to get a good image. So you have to build your presence in the web. For example, when you have a profile on LinkedIn or on Facebook, you have to share things that you are doing. You have to share some articles, some of your insights, some of your, and people try, from article to article, post to post, they learn about you more. And sometimes they are even, they have confidence in you. You reassure them. Why I'm saying this? Because we have to invest some of our time in social networks to build our presence or our personal brand on the web. This is very important. Sometimes there are a lot of opportunities out there, but you cannot see them if you haven't a very a stable and steady presence on the social networks, especially professional social networks. So as I said, in a period of time from 2014 to 2016, I tried to build some real nice content about digital, about architecture, and so on. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll find a lot of articles in this period of time talking about the digital technologies, talking about architecture, talking about sometimes entrepreneurship, startupping, and so on. So actually, this brought to me some contacts in international level to work in international projects. So first thing, I started working with some companies, not in Morocco, in Tunisia, for example, another company in the Emirates, working in the region. So I started by some projects. Some of the projects were in Africa, others were in the Gulf region, and so on. And then the second step was to work with international bodies like the World Bank. So I started working with IFC, I think, in 2017, and then with EBRD, which is the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, starting from 2019. So I started working with these bodies because they trusted me, because they have seen what I have done, and because there are other people that recommended me for them. So actually having good relationship and doing some impression on your first customers, on your relationship is good, because it will bring you some other contacts and new opportunities. So actually this was very interesting, because I had the opportunity for example, in the last 2 years to work of course, before the pandemic, to work in Ukraine, to work in Jordan, to work in the Saudi Arabia, to work in Ivory Coast, in Cameroon, in Mali, in Tunisia, in Egypt, and so on. And this international context is very interesting, because you learn about how things are done, how decisions are taken, how investments are decided, and so on. So before maybe finishing this intervention, I'd like just to share with you some of my my learnings throughout this small career. First, the first learning I have is that you have always to look for the long term. Even if you have some very urgent needs. I know that everybody, for example, in a way, needs, for example, to get the first job. This is very important, and I can understand this need. But in the meantime, you have always to look for a career, not a job, because your decision will be different if you are looking for a career than just looking for a job to start. So this is very important, and actually I have written an article in LinkedIn about this. Look for a job, look for a career, not for a job. And there are lots of advice out there talking about how we can look for a career, what are the most important things to do to make sure that you are aiming at the long term, not just short-term objectives. Second thing, you have to look for your relationship, close relationship. If you have some friends that are successful, you will try for success. You will do your best to succeed. If you have a lot of friends that are entrepreneurs, you will try entrepreneurship. If you have in your neighborhood, in your relations, someone who is successful in something, you'll try to do the same. So, but if you are, you are surrounded by people that have no aim, no objective, that are very lazy, or that you won't try to succeed. I know of many engineers, when they graduated, they didn't find a job immediately, so they went back to their small city somewhere in Morocco, and then all their objectives were downgraded. So, for example, I knew of engineers in a period of time that tried to become teachers in the they applied for CPR. I know of engineers that were in a period of time working with their father, for example, in a family work, which is not adapted to what they have learned. So actually, you adapt your objectives, your aims, your goals to the goals of your surroundings. So you have to be surrounded with successful people, with people that are better than you, not worse than you. This is the first thing, or second thing I'd like to tell you. Third thing for me is very important. Hear me? Maybe there was some interruption. Is it okay? Can you hear me? Yes, perfect. So as I have said, be yourself. Nobody is equal to somebody else. Of course, you have to be inspired from other people. I can be inspired from many people, and every time I watch an inspirational video or something, talk or TEDx talk or whatever, I get inspired. But I have my own way, my own path, because I'm different. So be yourself. Be also honest. You don't have to lie. You don't have to tell lies and to tell things that you have to tell things as they are. Of course, you have to adapt somehow. You have to make sure that people you don't like something, tell something that's very different, but you have to be yourself. Being yourself means also being Moroccan. I can give you an example. A lot of startups I've been accompanying or I've been mentoring, they're always talking about Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and so on. But Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, if they were in Morocco, they may have a different path, a different career. So you have to be yourself means you are Moroccan, you are Amazigh or Arab, you are Muslim, you are. So all of these things are part of your personality, and you have to make sure that it's part also of your career. Okay, one moment. Very important if you want to succeed in your career. Last thing I want to share with you is that you have to give before asking to receive. You have to give means that whenever you have the opportunity to give advice or to give money or to try to help out others, try to do it. Because as much as you give, you will receive. You will learn.
will have things that make you advance. So never think about, a lot of students, a lot of people that are fresh graduates, they think only about how they can get a job. This is good, but you can, in the meantime, help yourself and help others. Now, the IEEE students branch in ENSA FEZ is something that is very interesting, because you are trying to give some added value to others. And when you try to give added value to others, you are also learning in the same way, and you are advancing and progressing in your career. And this is, something that is valid everywhere and in every context. I have to tell you that when I was, in the meantime that I was trying to work on my career, I was president of the NCS Alumni Association. I was also part of the Moroccan Union for Engineers, Syndicat National des Ingénieurs du Maroc. I was always working with some associations, some non-profits like Startup Maroc mentoring and working with them, with young people in terms of startups. I was trying to coach young people from engineering school or even before that, to make sure that they can succeed. I'm not telling this to brag about it. It's not my the way I think about it. I'm just telling you that whenever you give, you will receive. This is something that you have to learn. It's something, it's part of our life. It's a part of how things are done. So as much as possible, if you can help out, if you can give some added value to other people, either in your school, either in your community, in your city, in your region, in your country, whatever region you are in, this is for your sake. And this is well known, والله في عون العبد ما دام العبد في عون أخيه. Whenever you are helping out someone else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you out. So try to make as much as possible work for the community. Community work is very different. You can have some social activities. There's also some learning activities, and whatever type of activities you can do. And as much as you give, you will receive. And this is part of the way you can find success. In the meantime, I will just end by this. If you want, and this is also an article I have published on LinkedIn about the best way to manage your time. And actually, I found out that the best way to manage your time is to give it. And whenever you give time management will be easier for you. It could be considered as paradoxal. You can find that it's somehow contradictory. It's actually, it's the way it is. And I have, a hands-on experience on that, so I can tell you about it. Anyway, I tried in the last months, from the beginning of this year, I tried also to share some of what I know and what could be helpful for others in my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel with my name, and I try to, regularly to post some videos about career, about knowledge, about many other topics. So you can go back to it. I think that's the next decennium, which is the decennium we started with this year, with this pandemic year, will be very different from other years, from other periods. In terms of jobs, we have now a very big challenge, which is artificial intelligence. So we need to be more creative. We need to be more challenging. We have to learn, to relearn, to unlearn, to make sure that we are able to advance in this digital age. We have to acquire as much as possible digital competencies and skills that will make us, competent for this digital era. And what is very important, we need
to collaborate, to work together, to make sure that we have a collaboration with many teams in the meantime, and also to be agile in terms of learning, in terms of advancing our careers, and in terms of decision about our careers, to make sure that we can, because there will be, not just now, a lot of changes in the next years. So we have to be prepared for it, but we have also to be sure that inshallah everything will be fine. We have to trust trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make sure to be sure that everything will pass and we will have inshallah a better future for all of us if we do our work, if we do also our part. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sidi, for your speech. That was very interesting. I really appreciate all what you said. I think that was an amazing speech. It's time for the questions. I think we have some questions that are coming through. Is there anyone? No. Question, are you ready, Mr. Questions? Mr. Khlisi, do you hear me?
Yes, yes, I hear.
Okay, the first question is from Ahmed Jibiti. I have, there are some, what are the reasons that made you take your original company?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you very well.
What was the reason that made you take the decision to sell your shares on your original company?
Okay. I think, well, a lot of people ask me about this because they think that when you build a company, you have to be there, you know, for the lifetime. Actually, for me, I appreciated a lot what we have done in this company, but actually, I planned the first time I was taking shares in this company to leave in a period of time. Not just because you know I need to sell shares to start things, other things, or to invest in other companies. It's not the real reason. The real reason actually was that I think that when you go like through a cycle in a company, in a period of time you reach your competency limits, and then it's no use to go back to the same things and so on. It's better to make sure that other people are enabled, empowered, and they can become the new leaders of the company. And this is what actually we try to do. Actually, we have recruited in 2010 fresh graduates that are now driving and leading the company. And it was a very, very satisfactory thing to make sure that there is a there is a new generation that is driving the company and that's leading the way. And for me, this is a better success than just keep in there and keep doing the same things with maybe the same errors and so on. And actually, in a period of time, I just understood that I'm doing things wrong, because I'm addressing a new market. Market is changing. The market is changing. When we started the company, it was 2008. In 2014, there is a new market, and a lot of people have changed it. The decision is made in a different way, and so on. Especially when we are talking about digital technologies. So the way we should handle it is different from the way young people will handle it. So this is what we try to do, and this is why actually I sold my shares. But the second reason also is when you exit a company, you get some money so you can diversify your investments. So this is the second reason.
Your answer, and this is from Ahmed Jannati too. How do you manage your investment portfolio? Do you get help from financial advisors or only by yourself?
Well, actually, this is a very good question. I'm starting to learn about this. I'm not a really experienced investor. Actually, at the beginning, I started by investing, myself directly, either in money or in terms of efforts. I did some bad investments. One of the companies was a big failure, and it was like the first impression was that it's a success. But actually, after 2 years, we had to just shut it down because it was a big failure. So sometimes you learn by doing, and this is part of it, to test and learn, Now, actually, we have created a company, me and two of my brothers, to manage our portfolio of investments. It's not a big portfolio, it's not like we are investing. Most of it is in Morocco, of course. Most of the company, or a lot of them, are in the digital area, but some of them are in industry, for example, in agro-industry. But just to say that we learn by doing, and financial things, I'm not very keen into financials. I'm not a finance guy. I don't know a lot about finance, but I happen to try to learn. I have been with the people as partners that know about this thing, so I try. And most of the time, whenever I take shares in a company, I try to have some balance between the technical, the financial, and the sales guys. So I may do the technical side, but there are other people that are trying to make sure that the finance is good and also the sales process is good. This is part of how I try to do it. But as I'm saying, I'm learning in terms of investments. So this is new to me. Maybe in a second phase, I will have advice from other companies. Whenever I need advice, especially in some things like for example, the law or whatever, regulatory aspects or whatever, I try to find it. But I don't have a specific consultancy process for my investment. I try just to diversify, to look for the good opportunities, especially in this time. As Dr. Mahajar said, in time of crisis, there are a lot of opportunities that nobody is thinking about. So you have to look for them, and you can advance by them. Now, for example, there are a lot of opportunities in e-commerce, in logistics, and in retail that were not apparent in last years because we are in a pandemic period. So we have to take also these changes into account. And you have to change your to change your mind every now and then.
Thank you very much for your answer. And the one is from Ahmed Institute. Think Moroccan companies are worth in investment in the long run.
Did Moroccan company? Excuse me.
Do you think Moroccan companies are worth investment in the long run?
I'm so sorry, I cannot hear all the question.
Okay.
I hear.
Okay. Do you think Moroccan companies are worth the investment in the long run?
Are worth investing in the long run. Is that it?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Well, let me just tell you that, in my opinion, when I am investing in a Moroccan company, it's not just about having some return on investment and very, let's say, very fast return on investment. If you want very fast return on investment, you have to look for other companies. We don't have actually real startups because we don't have also real ecosystem for startups. in Morocco, don't have real venture capitalists and so on. But then for me, it's also somehow a duty, c'est un devoir for my country to invest in Moroccan companies. I had some opportunities to invest in external companies. I had some offers in Egypt. I have also very lately an offer to invest in a Spanish company. But for me, I'm not talking about big investments. Don't think that I have a lot of money. Actually, my portfolio, is something like maybe 1 to 2 millions of dirhams. So it's not big shares, but then still it's for me a duty to invest in Moroccan young people, in Moroccan engineers and in Moroccan companies, because the country gave me a lot, so I have to give back. So it's part of this give back. In the other hand, we need to learn that when you invest, it's not necessarily the short term. Because a lot of people, a lot of engineers, a lot of fresh graduates, they think that the first thing to have is to have a big car, a big house, and so on. For me, it's not this. I'm trying to. Of course, I spend some money. I have family. I have a house, but I try to direct my money to some investments. They won't necessarily be very good in the short term, but in the long run, as the question mentioned, it could be very interesting. And this is what I have done actually in Neoxia. So in Neoxia, which is the first company I founded, it was the same thing. So I invested, and after 10 years, it gave me a very good exit. Same thing is what I'm doing with other companies. Maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, I can have a good exit with some good cash, and I can reinvest it for the benefits, for my benefits, and for the benefits of others.
Thank you very much. And the last question from Ahmed was, as you started investing in 2006, and the next question from Ahmed Jibnati, as you started investing in 2016 in 4 years, the cover for living is
Well, actually, I've read actually the question in the chat. My investment from 2016 right now, there is not a big return on investment. I don't expect any return investment in a period of 3 years. In Morocco, it's very hard to have this. Most of the time, unless you are in a business, not an entrepreneurship, you're just buying and selling cars and things like that, which is not my my specialty, if you want. But actually, most of the companies you can get some return investment starting from the 3rd or 4th year. So don't think that you will get some. So actually, now my first investment, which is the investment in Neoxia, it covers part of my expenses. So actually, I am fine in terms of this, because of course I am a professor in the university, but also my first investment is covering some maybe 70 or 80% of my expenses, which make it possible for me to invest all the new money from consulting projects and so on in this new companies. But the return on investment, it could be one of two things: either dividends. For example, when I was in Neoxia, starting from 2014, we had dividends that covers most of my expenses. Actually, I had something like maybe 100,000 dirhams to 2,000 dirhams in dividends each year. So which is something like, if you want, something like 15 000 dirhams par mois, entre 10 000 à peu près 15 000 dirhams par mois, which is fine for me. This was just dividends. So then when you exit, so you sell your shares, then you can get even better return on investments depending on the value, the new value of the company. So actually I have some shares that could be valued, if you want to, as I have said, something like 2 to 3 maybe million dirhams. This is in shares. So my shares in AgriData, my shares in retail, my shares in Fikra Labs, my shares in TLME, and so on. So all these shares, they can. But as I've said, this is not the most important thing at first. At first, you have to build something. And then when you build something, when you have something that is steady, that is working, that is stable, and a lot of people are earning their wages from it, then you can go to investing. It's very difficult to start from investing because you have to go through the cycle of entrepreneurship and you have to create value. And when you create value, then you get this return investments and you can invest later. Of course, if you are born rich, that's a different story. It was not my case, so this is why I'm taking this long way to reach it.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Khlisi, for all your answers. There is other question, but unfortunately, we don't have enough time. So I just want to thank you very much, Mr. Al-Khlisi, for your presence and for being here with us. That was a pleasure with us. Thank you again, Mr. Mohsin.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, for having me today. I wish you, I'm sorry for my rusty English. I tried my best to make sure that the meaning is there, but even if the expression is not there, I think you'll have an amazing talk with the next speakers, especially Khalid Mashad, who is a friend of mine. He's someone very well known, and you'll have better English at least. That's me, and very my wishes for you for success in the IEEE INSA students branch, and for all your activities and for all your careers. Thank you very much, and have a nice Sunday.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Khlisi. That was a pleasure. And now I think it's time for passing to the second. And ladies and gentlemen, trust me that I'm super excited to present to you our second speaker. And he made who will share his experience with us. And when we say amazing, we meant it. Mr. Khalid Mshashat, he is an international speaker. He invited to speak to more than 40 yearly corporate seminars and global multinational. He's a strategy consultant. He has consulted with governments, multinationals, and foundations on 4 continents and more than 14 industries. He is certified trainer. He has more than 2,000 hours of training experience. His catalog includes entrepreneurship, hardware and software solutions, development, design, thinking, open innovation, and business management, and so on. Please, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Mr. Khalid Mshashat, who is with us. And I pass you the word, Mr. Khalid. I hope you heard me.
Yes, I can hear you, Noha. Thank you very much for your introduction. سيدي محسن الغزال ديالي شكرا بزاف على الانترودكسيون وما تحشمش ça fait longtemps qu'on s'est pas parlé. Alors, I'll resume in English to honor the tradition of my dear friend. I'm Khalid Mashad. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Mr. Khalid.
Very well. Again, thank you for the invitation. My name is Khalid Mashad. you heard a bunch of titles. I think you got them from probably the website. They're a little bit out of date, but thank you for the introduction. I'll start with a kind of a little, storytelling, just to give you a little bit of understanding of and something that maybe I'll have a little bit of a special time telling, and a little bit of difference with my other friends that came and spoke today, which is the fact that I started my first company while in school. So I'll give you a little bit of insights and background on how did that happened, and how did I manage, between the studies and between launching a company. Obviously, it's very important that you understand that this is, I obviously, like my dear friend Muhsin said, if you're born rich, that's another story. But if you're born in middle class or lower middle class, it's a very complex environment to manage, and especially when you're as young and as I would say that you're lacking the connections, that you're lacking the mentorship, that you're lacking maybe the resources, obviously, but and you're lacking the experience to be able to run and manage a business. So my first adventure into trying to generate my own revenue started back in high school. I started learning how to program in end of middle school, and by mid-high school, I was creating software as a consultant, websites management software for small companies, and I went into mobile apps after high school when I was in les classes préparatoires. At the same time, I earned partially my living through music. So I used to work as a musician for a period of time when I was able to tour either here or in Europe. And at the same time, I tried to, through the money I earned, trying to set up my next venture. After les classes préparatoires, I went into l'NCS, like my dear friend Muhsin. And by the end of my first year, I had created my first company, which is called Skill Learn, and it was basically a platform that established blended learning, which was not such a big theme at the time. This is somewhere around 2013, 2014. When I started working on the prototype, and then 2015, 2016, when it was an established company and that we managed to sell afterwards. So I created the platform myself. I tried to learn how to do to code web platforms. It did not look good. Obviously, I sucked at design. But since I didn't have any money or resources to pay for a developer to do it for me and to get a designer to do so, so I had to work on the prototype and the proof of concept myself, and try to do, aside from the proof of concept as a platform, but also a proof of concept of the courses that would take place on and off the platform and try to make my business model run, which was basically if you onboarded to the platform and you got students or trainees out of the platform, then I get a fee when you do the training for those students or trainees. So I tried to do a proof of concept of that. After my my prototype went live, well, that was 4.5 months later, approximately. We had about 5,000 active users in the platform, and we had about 200 trainings that took place. From normal university students that got trained by other university students that were better or specialized in a specific course, to guitar teachers trying to get some and trainees to help them with their guitar learning, to mathematics and the cours sup in mathematics. So the courses had a very wide range. Any trainer could subscribe into the platform, list their courses, give some type of freebies like short videos explaining what the course is about on the platform, and students would get onto the platform, select the courses they want to join, and get planning of the sessions on the platform as well, so that the trainer would know when they are available and then book the trainings on the platform, and then we'd get a fee from the trainer. So once I did the proof of concept and I had the trainings and I had the users, just to give you an understanding, I did not have the budget to do anything. So even the hosting and the website name, I had to go get them without paying for them. So I went and asked Microsoft and Amazon to be able to get free hosting from those companies, and I did not get an answer from Amazon, but for Microsoft, I got an answer as a student. They told me that there is this program called Microsoft Student Partners that could afford me free hosting for the duration of my being a student at NCS. But I had to develop 3 applications and submit them for judging by the Microsoft Morocco team before I could join this program. So I went and learned the Microsoft programming language for Windows Mobile, and I programmed 3 applications, and I gave them to Microsoft Morocco, which afterwards onboarded me on the program. I got $150 a month worth of Microsoft Azure credits for 3 years. And that's what I used throughout the whole time I was operating on SkillLearn. After my proof of concept was done, and I felt that we had something that proves that our business model works and that the platform is engaging, even though its design sucked, but it was functional. I went and started joining competitions of startups. I went and established my company, and that earned me a few prizes, one of which was the Startup Open. So once I won the Startup Open, I got to the possibility to be incubated for free with physical space, physical offices offered for free, and the possibility to have 2 engineers and as many interns as I think 6 interns. I could hire 6 interns, and I had the partial time of 2 engineers that enabled me to create a team to work on the second version. All of this, by the way, was while I was still at school. So I was still studying, and I was doing this on nights and weekends and remotely whenever I could. So by, I believe, end of 2015, we had all the proof of concept we needed, and the team started working on the second version, which was a fully featured, fully designed web and mobile on iOS and Android blended learning platform. And that enabled us to go pitch it in Dubai at the International Hackathon for social good in the Arab world. And very fortunately, we had the ability to meet the head of the Qatar Qatar Sheikha Foundation, that resulted into us being able to sell the platform there in Qatar, and that enable us also to transition with the financial resources we got from that sale to my next startup, and gave me the possibility to be able to hire people to work on my second startup. Obviously, again, I am someone that is a sucker for learning new things and experimenting with new things. So my second startup, I ventured into hardware, which was SOS Santé. SOS Santé is basically a hardware that detects accidents and prevent or sends notification to the closest emergency center, telling them that accident happened in this and this location, and this is the driver. These are his blood type, his allergies, possible injuries, and so on. So aside from this, the idea for an all-encompassing company of the different ventures that I worked on was starting to form. So to manage both SkillLearn and SOS Santé under one flagship company, and that flagship company was created, co-founded by me and my wife. So that's the K&W Technologies, that later would become the first Forbes 30 under 30 company in North Africa, and that would get a lot of interest and accolades from all over the world, and that was enabled me to also become the international speaker and consultant that I am today. So this is kind of just trying to do as quick as I could a little background on my entrepreneurial journey and how it started from really just being stubborn and being persistent, and not saying I can't, not saying I need money, but trying to figure out and be resourceful and find the solutions that didn't have to do anything with money, but that I could get solutions in nature, that I could get workarounds, and that would enable me to continue on my adventure, and to be able to get where I am today. So this is entrepreneurship. Now I'll get a little bit to the consulting side. and to give you a little bit of understanding on how you can, um, how your value can appreciate within the market as a consultant if you work or if you do the right things to enable that transition. So, getting started in the consulting space, even after, like, with being an entrepreneur, is a pretty, I would say, complex environment where you have to be able to uh, manage expectations of clients, find clients or partners that can find clients for you, price yourself right. Um, uh, I would say propose or show your experience on the right angle, how to work out proposals, how to understand what your client wants, and how to understand how to valid or how to sell your value at the best way possible, and how to capitalize on each experience you do, so that you would uh, raise your if we're talking maybe, for example, daily your daily average or your daily charging cost, how to raise it exponentially in a very short period of time. So understand something. um, every single experience you do needs to be well studied in order to get you to be to get more credibility and to get more appreciation towards a goal of whatever you want to get in, say, 12, 24, or 36 months. And I'll give you, obviously, some examples. So at first, I wanted to work as a consultant for mobile technologies, because that was kind of not new, I would say, but it was still something that was very well seen and that was very well demanded. I figured I have the technicity. I've developed both platforms, at least the beta versions of the platforms for SkillLearn and SOS Santé myself. So I had very much the technical capacity, and but still, even if you have the technical capacity, you need to be able to sell yourself, get clients, and get them at the best rates you can. So my experience was I tried to secure myself some baseline of trainings and consulting gigs, even if they are at a lower rate that I would definitely like for my current experience. And at the same time, I would try to look for consulting gigs that I wouldn't sell to the client directly, but that would go through another partner, and the partner obviously negotiated already with the client at a certain rate that's higher than the rate that the client would give me directly, because they wouldn't see that I have the same number of experience as maybe other consultants that are making proposals. So once I work with that partner, and the partner bills the client a certain amount of money, that bill would become my proof of, I would say, my proof of rate to my next client. So if I go to a client after I did this contract through the partner, I will tell them, look, I've done this same work, whether it's a training or consulting, at this rate to this client. And you can verify with the client or with the partner. So I wouldn't expect to be paid less than this amount. So that's how I got to, in 3 years, to become top of the market consultant in Morocco and internationally. It's by being able to get the value of my consulting up by getting clients who appreciate my worth, and to kind of convince them of my going rate, that I could get them to look at my previous contracts where I billed the highest, and so I can get to those types of rates. Once I felt that I plateaued in Morocco in matters of going consulting rates, I went and started prospecting internationally through my company KNW Technologies. And the more accolades we got as KNW Technologies, the more I used those accolades and those references to get my consulting rates up. But not only that, I started getting other consultants in my company, which was at the time just working on developing solutions for other companies. I started to get the best of my team and get them to start being consultants as well, and charge higher rates based off my existing rates. So, for example, if I am charging X amount of money, I would sell a contract where I'm bringing 4 consultants, and I would say, look, I'm the head of the company, so I'm billing X, and these are my senior consultants, and they're getting X minus 20%, for example. So that's a much higher rate than what goes for them anywhere else. But because I got them into the contract, well, they're compared to me, they're lower, but they're much higher than the going rate in Morocco or even in the region. So that's how I started building kind of the establishment and the credibility of my company. Obviously, the higher your rates go, the lower your the number of your clients will be, and you'll have to start working with large companies or multinationals or even government entities, because those are the only ones that are able to pay those fees or the rates that you're asking, or obviously international clients. And so the more you get established, the more kind of cash flow you have internally, the more you feel uh, I wouldn't say relaxed, but the more you feel that you have some leeway to be picky with your clients. At first, you're just trying to get as much money through the door as possible, as much projects as possible, scramble through to get them done, just to be able to get some war chest, as we call it, la trésorerie, to get enough in your war chest, and to enable you to be able to take some downtime and to be able to prospect for larger clients and even larger contracts. So at the same time, it's kind of they're very different, businesses. Product business and consulting or service business are very, very different businesses. They just meet at certain intersections. For example, in our product work, we had to deal with how to price our products in a midway from we need to make margins, but we also need it to be affordable to our final clients. So working on that kind of midway between us and the clients, so that we're winning enough that we can expand, but also our client is being able to afford our product. that was a very important part. For the services or the consulting elements, it's the same thing. You target clients, but you need to understand what are their psychological barriers as to payment. You need to understand maybe what are the other companies that worked with them and what type of rates they've had with them. For example, if I go to a company and they've already hired McKinsey for a strategy project, I know what the going rates for a senior consultant at McKinsey are. So I know that their psychological barrier is quite high because the McKinsey consultants bill quite high a day for their senior consultants. So I go into this client with my baseline being whatever McKinsey bills to that client. But if you go to a family company that's, small to medium, you will expect a lot of pushback on that type of rate per day per consultant. Aside from all of this, building your brand as a consultant or a speaker or a trainer, if your company, especially if it's a consulting company, is you're a majority shareholder and you build your company's brand off your brand, it can get you, if you're smart in the way you're doing it, it can get you and your company to advance forward a lot faster than if you are trying to get a company's name to be well established. And the example being what I did with K&W Technologies, which was my work as an international speaker, for example, got K&W Technology to be very well known in quite high spaces. For example, last year before COVID hit, I believe this was in November of 2019, I was speaking in front of an arena of 70,000 people in Lisbon at the Web Summit. And after, obviously, during my speech, although I wouldn't talk directly about my company or talk about our services, I would still give an understanding to my audience that I'm an expert in what I do and that we have a company that accompanies our clients in that specific environment, whether it's the digital transformation part, the setting up digital factories for clients, training their employees on digital transformation, or creating or setting up their innovation labs, creating open innovation programs to help them to work with startups, help them understand how to innovate, and so on. After that, I've received through the organizer of the conference, but also directly through LinkedIn and so on, I believe about 1,500 requests for business meetings from very large and well-established companies in different parts of the world that wanted to talk to me about their needs in matters of digital transformation, or that wanted some type of consulting from our company to help them with a specific aspect. Obviously, when you get that type of request, it's not just you that they're hiring, but you're also selling the services of your company. And so that's how, in my in my example, I was able to get more business to the company, become very picky about who I do business with, and also higher my rates compared to other companies that are in the same space. This is kind of entrepreneurship and consulting and business aside. Now, I'll have a last part where I will talk to you about my my social business and social work. I am currently the president of Global Shapers Casablanca, and I have been involved within NGOs and international organizations for a long time. I believe since maybe 2011, I've been involved with an international organization or another. How is that relevant to to what I do, and how is that relevant also to my mindset and to my well-being? Working on business and making money is great, but once you go over a certain amount, a certain number of resources, in 2018, I had, I believe, about 70 flights to 4 continents. Some of them were business, some of them was business with pleasure, some of them were vacations, and some of them were speaking to G20 heads of countries. Some of them were World Economic Forum meetings, and so on and so forth. After you get all that, if you're not giving back, if you don't understand that growing alone is not how you should work, it's not how God is, I would say, through his prophet telling us to live our life. It's live your life with collaboration, helping each other grow, be grateful, give back. And so through the international NGOs and even the local ones that I worked with, obviously there's a lot of personal growth that is involved, but also it's very importantly a way to give back. And I would advise you very much to not forget to balance those two. Obviously, time with family is very important, and that's something that I'm very, at least in the past few years, I have become very, very peculiar about. But it's also important to balance between the way you do business and how to feed your soul, which is by giving back. I work today with on programs that help immigrants and refugees around the world to learn how to earn their livelihood through digital means by giving trainings on how to code, how to design, and how to use international platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, and so on to be able to earn a living. I do the same program with ex-prisoners here in Morocco, but also with non-working graduates from university. I work with some incubators, for example, that are helping women made startups to be able to establish their business and to be able to support their employees. And this is just a few examples off the top of my head. And I say this because it's really important to keep in mind that money doesn't give you happiness. I know it's a cliche, but really, after, as said my friend Muhsin earlier, 15,000 dirhams are largely sufficient for anyone to live with their families very comfortably. If you have a roof over your head, if you have food on your table, if you can, you know, get out, look at the sunset, and you should be grateful if you have your health, if you have your family, if you have all these things are, you know, pretty basic, it seems for some people, but it's really, really all you need. And once, you know, you get more than that, if it's not as my friend Mohsin did, which is investing, which I do as well, either you invest it in young people and young people's futures and young innovators to help them out, and to help them grow, to help them you know, create the future of our country. If you do not also think about others and not just yourself, it will be a very lonely life where you will not be fulfilled. And no matter how much money you make, it will never be enough, because that's not really what our soul is craving. It's craving human connections, it's craving doing good, and it's craving the gratitude that you should show every day for the things that that you have. So aside from all of this, I would say maybe one last thing before opening for questions. One other part of giving back is what I have the chance today to be a member of the Commission Royale pour le Nouveau Modèle de Développement, which is also a voluntary work that we're doing to help shape the strategy of our nation. And that's giving back by being a good citizen and by being a citizen that thinks of the future of their country. So this is another way of giving back that I would advise you to, which is think of how you can push your country forward. It can be through giving opportunities to young people to work at your company, young graduates. It would be the maybe participating in you know, just voting, for example, is one of them, but also being neighborly, helping in just as a citizen to make our country better. I think that's also one other element that you should focus on. And I would give you the floor for the questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid. That was very interesting, and your speech was very exciting. And now I think it's time for questions. There were some questions in the comments. Okay, are you ready, Mr. Khalid, to answer for the questions?
Yes, go ahead.
Right. Okay. The first question is, how did you start up, get famous in the market, especially the first one when you were studying?
Sure. So my first company, it got famous because we once again, you know, coming out with an idea of a startup is not exciting for anyone, aside from the founders, I mean. However, if you have a proof of concept that this is actually working, and that's the thing that I preach to every single startup I accompany or I mentor in all the programs that I do, is make something that works. Not just a prototype of the technology, because unless it's a very mind-blowing new technology or intellectual property that you're making, anything that you might be doing is probably been done somewhere else in another country by other companies. So the most important part is making something that works with a business model that has a basic record. At least have 1 or 2 clients that paid for your product or service before starting to talk about it, right? So for us, it was also the storyline. Starting as a student with absolutely no budget to do anything whatsoever, getting to a platform that has 5,000 active users and 200 trainings that happened that were paid for and that made us money. We didn't even come close to breaking even, but our business model was working. And for startups, it's normal that you would not break even, especially in the first few months. So once that was set, we were able to participate in competitions. And because I worked well on my storytelling and I worked well on my pitch decks and so on, I was able to pitch well, and I was able to win those competitions. And what would happen is, if they are close enough between them, and if you're working relentlessly and participating in events and networking with the right people, and using that press coverage that you got from here and there, from this competition or that competition, to pitch yourself forward. Again, that goes to the same idea that I said earlier for the consulting business, which is capitalize on the experience that you made and never settle for the same thing twice. So if I got paid today 2,000, I have to try my hardest to be paid 3,000 next time I do the same service for another client, right? So with that mindset, building on whatever you did before, and using that as a proof of record or proof of credibility into that service, and trying to get better and higher on the ladder is how we did it.
Right, thank you very much for your answer. And the second question is, what are your advices for someone who planning to start investing?
It depends on the amount you have, honestly. There is I'll give some concrete examples. Maybe that will help you better. If you have 5,000 to invest, invest it in yourself. Invest it in getting a new certification, for example, something that is in your industry and that will give you the possibility to train or to consult with that certification. I don't know, for project management, you get something like PMP, or I don't know, in some specific technology like React, you'll find some Google or Udemy certified course and get into it. And that's how I would do it if I had 5,000 dirhams. If you have 100,000 dirhams, I would say probably invest in creating a new project that's very, I would say, that has a basic concept. That's something that already works across the board. Something that's very low, that has a very low starting budget. It can be even a consulting company. Get out with friends, set up the company, get your license and registration, and start creating your branding, and start prospecting clients. I mean, for me, it's obviously the entrepreneurial drift is more into companies that are structured for technology consulting or product and service, but it can be, I don't know, making a shop or investing in something that's very business, basic, mundane, everyday things. If you have 500,000 dirhams and up, you can start thinking of two things: either investing in startups, I mean, other founder startups, not yourself, or having a partial investment into a banking portfolio. Right now, I'm structuring a portfolio with Omnia Bank, for example. That's the Sharia compliant bank, and they have the possibility to, for investments, lock in money for 6 to 12 months and having a return. Sometimes the returns vary between 2.5% to 3%, which is a pretty good investment on the long term. Again, just check out compounding investment. Some Warren Buffett has a couple of books that are interesting on the subject. Obviously, they're not Sharia compliant, but you can extrapolate with the fact of the risk being a little bit marginal to them, but a little bit higher to us. And then investing in startups is pretty difficult unless you have been a founder first, and that's what Simasen said already. Simply because you need to know how a startup works before you invest in one. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your money on non-opportunities. And you need to be able to gauge a founder and whether they are a good founder or not, based on not just their track record, but also based on their strengths, based on the way they collaborate with people, and based on their leadership style. I hope I answered. I tried to be as specific as possible.
You did. Thank you very much. And the third question is, how could you manage all your 3 companies?
I manage 7 now. I didn't tell you about all the companies I do. And the commission work, and I still do some consulting work myself, because you can't let your skills rust. So you have to still be on the pulse. You still have to look for new things to learn yourself, to experience yourself. Managing a company gets boring. I am a very easily bored person. So I am always looking for new things to learn and new things to experience. All my companies are in technology. I invested in a couple of companies that are just supported by technology, mainly e-commerce, but the rest are building operational products or services in the technology space. How I manage them is I give my my folks the autonomy they need and the understanding from the beginning whenever we hire them is you will not be working at my beck and call, and I will not be giving you the A's and B's and C's every single time you have a problem. If you have a problem, solve it. If you don't solve it, don't come to me. If you solve it and something goes wrong, then maybe we talk. Unless it's, and I give them levels of danger, as I call them. So unless it's gonna break the company's cash flow, bank, I mean, or unless it's gonna make us lose a whole business unit, you don't come to me with it. You find a solution. So that way, I have very little to do with my businesses. Founders have their own shares, and so that they basically are running their own company. And I just come in whenever we have some big clients that I have to kind of take the power of 2 or 3 of my companies to tackle something quite large. I don't know, in the hundreds of thousands, the millions of euros. I need to have all my teams working together. So it's something that's that needs to be addressed, and then those companies kind of lose their heads, or their CEOs or acting CEOs, kind of project managers or team managers of some sort, and I become then the leader of the project. And those projects I usually have to I would say coordinate myself, but for the rest of the day-to-day with normal contracts, I don't really get involved as much anymore.
All right, thank you. And the second and the next question is, how can our first job influence our career?
Um, well, again, it depends on which field, I guess, but and also on your mentality. If you get into your first job with the understanding that you're not there to build years of experience, you're there to learn new things. And what I advise everyone that I mentor, even for people that are already in corporate jobs, is list the things you learn every week or every month. List the new things you learn. When there comes a month where you find out that you haven't learned anything that's 3 points or higher of importance, then start considering leaving your job for another one, or starting your own company. And the point system obviously is something that you make for yourself. So, for example, if learning how to in digital transformation, for example, learning how to set up a roadmap, a strategic roadmap for a client is an 8 or a 9. Learning how to make a list add up in Excel is a 1. So just giving you, the scales so that you can understand, the difference. So that's an example for me. I mean, even learning how to make an add-on is 0.5 or 0, but it's still something that you learned. I'll list all of them, or as much as I could before. Now it's much higher on the stakes. But for me, it's if you go in with this philosophy, which is when I stop learning important things at my job, it's time to either change jobs, go to something more challenging, or go into entrepreneurship, then you should be fine wherever you work. The second should be fine from a perspective of growth, obviously. The second aspect is don't get stuck on how much you get paid for your first job. The reason for that is I need you to consider other elements that are more important, and they are what you get to learn. If you want to make a startup someday, I would tell you go work at a startup. And work at a startup that's, small enough that you get to work with the founders directly, but not too small that you're not learning anything or you're learning things you shouldn't have to, right? So for a person that's just graduating, I'd say between 5 and 15 people is a good size startup to go in, and that has a minimum of maybe 2 to 3 years of existence, right? So if you want to build a startup, try to find somewhere that can offer you this type of learning experience, and then don't negotiate so much on the salary that than negotiating for a better responsibility position in 6 months if you do your job well. For a founder, that's a proof that you want to stay with them for those 6 months, and that you're interested and engaged enough that you want to grow within their company. So for them, telling them that if you hire me for 7,000 now, if I do my job and do it 120%, I want to be a project manager or a project lead in 6 months. And for a project lead, obviously they will be paid more. You would have worked 6 months, learned a lot from working with those founders, and also got into a management position that you wouldn't get if you worked at a larger company, because they have procedures that are much more complicated. to be able to be promoted, right? So when you have that mindset, you're still young. You're not married. You're still, either live at your parents' house or you're co-sharing or renting with a friend. So don't think of the money right away, because that's what gets you to miss up on real learning opportunities longer on the run.
Thank you. Just a simple question for me. Can we work for a company and do a startup at the same time?
You mean working for a company and having a startup at the same time? It's not impossible. However, if you are a graduate and you think of working at a company, I would not recommend it. I'll tell you why. Because then you would think, well, the challenging part will be me working on my startup, so I can get just any other mundane job. I can get a banking job, right? I can work at a bank, make some good money, and at the same time work on my startup. Your banking job will probably be fine, but you won't be able to advance on your startup. And you will get used to those 15,000 coming every month, and it will be much harder to get out, and focus on your company. But if you work at a startup for a year, you will have the tools, the experience, and start having the connections to mentors within the startup space enough to be able to launch yourself afterwards. And another startup founder will even help you out in creating your startup, obviously, as long as you work on it outside of their working time. They would even help you. A good founder, obviously, will help you to learn the ropes of how to make a startup on your own. And by the way, if you work at a startup, you can tell them from the get-go, look, I am working with you because I want to learn from you, and I want to be able to build my own startup someday. And for good founders, again, if you tell them this and they tell you, well, that doesn't work for me, that wasn't the good place for you to work in the first place. For really good founders that have that give back mentality, that will actually give them even more appreciation of you. And obviously what you have to promise them is, look, I will be working for you for at least a year or at least 2 years. That they would feel comfortable in, the investment they will show in you before you go out and you work on your own startup. However, if you're like me and you're way too crazy to work at some company, then you'll have to start while you're at school, because once you start having responsibilities, if your company isn't making enough money for you to be able to live at least normally, you will go to a corporate job right away, because that's what happens when you get responsibilities.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid, for all your answers. That was very interesting. And thank you very much for your speech and all what you said. It was our pleasure for being with us. And now I think it's time to pass to the third speaker. And as we know, ladies and gentlemen, since the majority of us are students and future employers, our third speaker's speech couldn't come at a better time for us. And today, we are lucky to have Mr. Usama Al-Haddad, who will be talking about his experience. Mr. Usama is the founder and CEO at Tech. He's a software engineer and BI consultant at IDT Corporation NE. He's ex-assistant project coordinator at Mercy Tech in USA. He was a BI graduated from École Nationale des Sciences Appliquées in 2018. Mr. Usama is going to talk about the career from young engineering student to a leader and CEO and an experienced engineer in the US. He's going to talk about the importance of self-learning and how it can help engineers to boost their skills and be noticed. He's going to answer to all the questions. Do certificates really matter? How can we invest in ourselves better? and the salary or create its own business. Ladies and gentlemen, please, it's my pleasure. And please allow me to welcome Mr. Oussama Al-Haddad. And just want to tell you, welcome with us, and I pass you the word.
All right, thanks, Noela. Give me just 1 second. I would like to share a few slides that I put together. All right, first of thing, Assalamu alaikum, good evening, everyone, whether you're joining from here on Zoom or from social media. This is Oussama Al-Haddad. The first thing is I really big thanks and huge appreciation for the IEEE event for having me here as a speaker. There is no harm if I'm going to say that this is going to be my first event or conference that I'm going to be attending as a speaker instead of an organizer. So I'm going to try to make it as much clear and simple. And I'm going to share my help and experience, which is not even 2 years as of now, since I started my career here in the US as a software engineer, and few back experience that I had during few internships. So the first thing, a quick summary or a snapshot about who I am. So I was born and raised north of Morocco in Nador. I had all my primarily schools, the primary, the middle and high school from the same city. Then 2013, I was able to access a called DAY-ENSA Husima, and then I had my 5 years right there as a student. So my bachelor from DAY-ENSA Husima was as a business intelligence engineer. During that time, I had a few visits and travels back and forth between Morocco and the States. So here within couple of months that I've been here in the States, I was working as an intern, and at the same time, an assistant project coordinator at University Consulting. Currently, I'm software engineer and BI consultant at IDT Corporation, which is located in Newark, the state of New Jersey. At the same time, I'm pursuing a master program at Stevens Institute of Technology. The major is going to be, which I'm pursuing, is basically AI and machine learning. And the last but not the least, founder and CEO at Riftech, which is a startup that I created a few months back, where the intention basically was, the first thing is to give opportunities to our colleagues and friends and Moroccan students to get hands-on a real project based on the few expertise that I have here in the state, and also the ability to share knowledge together. And then why not building real project and systems within our home country, Morocco, on different domains and industries, including real estate, healthcare, and so on. Right. Then the first section that I'm going to be talking about in my keynotes is the key elements that I believe they are the most important ones for every junior student or graduate, which we need to have at least a percentage of them during our day-to-day lives. The first thing, which is gratitude, and then as a coincidence, our colleague Khalid mentioned during his last few minutes, to be grateful for what we have, which is right. Most of us, if not all of us, keep thinking on day-to-day about two things, mainly the past and the future. The past mainly for opportunities that we missed or for failures that we had on our career, which we all know that we don't have anything to do about that, and the past, it won't come back at another moment by any chance. The other thing that we keep thinking about at the same time is the future. So we think about the future. As an example, when I was still a student at DAY-ENSA Husima, I was thinking what I'm going to do after my 5 years. We all know the job market is really big, but the chances are highly, I'm not going to say are small, but there is a lot of challenges in the job market. So these two things, we mainly should avoid them and then focus on the present that we are living right now. We have 24 hours a day. We have a long run to go if we need either to success or to succeed, and then make an impact on the world in a positive way. The next item, which is time. really during this epidemic that we are living right now, which is going over almost a year right now, most of us has had a lot of time or free time during his daily basis. So the time that we have right now, it's really crucial. And then I invite myself and everyone to make the most of it on real items or on a real benefit for us, whether it's a learning path, like taking online courses, learning new strategies, maybe attending virtual events, which is still happening worldwide from different companies like Amazon, IBM. They are still having virtual events, sharing the most up-to-date technologies and then knowledge on the industry. So don't waste your time. This is the one thing. The second thing is the reason why I chose this picture, which is, I believe, one of the popular pictures when you are doing a search on Google about time. So as we see, we have 4 of the main big cities in the world: London, New York, Tokyo, and so on, and Moscow. And the time is different. My idea here, or the message that I want to share with the audience is don't rush, which means everyone is having his own time, his own life, and his own generation. So you never have to compare yourself. If you are on your 20th, you don't have to compare yourself with someone who's on the 40th or 50th, who had a long run, he made success on his life. So there is really no reason for making a difference between you and the other person. The only thing that you really need to compare yourself with is yourself, meaning what you were yesterday, what you are trying to do today, and what you want to become on the future. That's the main challenge, is to challenge yourself and not otherwise. Otherwise, you're going to just keep going in circles, looking at other persons, which everyone is living on his own time zone, his own culture, own different circumstances, which are highly different than our home country or from wherever where we are living right now. So make the most of your time, try to learn as much as you can. And this is mainly for the students that I know or who are basically accessing or joining the event with us, who are still between their first and the third year at the school, whether it's ENSA, NCS, whatever school you are right now in Morocco or overseas. The first 3 years are really highly crucial, and you need to make the most of them, learning and have a self-learning by yourself. Don't count on the subject or the classes that you have from 8 to 12 or from 2 to 6. They are really not sufficient for us to gain the more skills that we need to have them to get involved on the job market, because the job market is really increasing in tremendous way. 20 to 25% job openings are increasing on a year, and then the technologies are also evolving and going in a fast way that no one can basically attract or capture. The third thing is basically attitude, which is my really the most thing that I believe it's everyone should have. Attitude is over skills. So no matter who you are or what you're gonna be or what you know to do, what you're gonna be doing, whether it's in technology, it's on any other industries, you should start building your attitude and then have ability to say no, say yes. You need to have arguments, or you have the courage to argue with others about your ideas. So that's one of the main items, which I believe also it's most important to have during our learning path, more than having skills. So as a summary, the 3 items that just mentioned right now, which are gratitude, time, and attitude, I think, or I believe they are the most important, but they are not the rule. We do have also other like other items, other characteristics that we should be having, but I think these are some of the most important ones. Another item that I would like to mention as well, which our Professor Mohammed Khdisi mentioned before on his keynotes, which is intention. It's really like I learned it the hard way here in the US for the past 2 years that I've been here. intention is really one of the keys that makes a big impact on our life. The way, I mean, going back to our cultures, to our home country, the way that we learn intention is mainly for few items. As an example, we learn the intention like from the religious way. When you say, I mean, Ramadan is coming, it's time for fasting, so you have to make intention. Or you are going to pray, you have to have prior intention before doing that. So, but it's not really only for these matters. Intention is for our entire life. So as we say in our dialect or in Arabic, "Ala niyatikum turzaqun." That means whatever your intention is gonna be, whether regarding the wealth or the money that you're gonna be making or the skills that you're gonna be learning, if you're gonna have a good intention in a positive way for the method that you're gonna be implementing them on your real life, on your community, that's gonna make a big success and then a big difference in our lives. So with that says, these are basically the main items that I would like to start with, which I call them like the key elements for learning and having prior to start taking a learning path and then going through our industry, whether you are learning like or having a master or bachelor in technology, civil engineering, electrical engineering. So this mainly general terms, which is applicable for all the different industries that we have, not only about technology. The second section that I would like to share with the audience is, which is the most trending technologies. This is not based on statistics, but based on facts regarding the number of applications and resumes that are being applying for here for the first 6 months since I came in here in 2018. So I've been applying to multiple companies for different applications and job offering, including web development, big data engineers, business intelligence, and so on. So here I'm sharing basically some of the key metrics and then one of the most popular frameworks from the web development side. As everyone can see, the web development is evolving and then growing in a fastest way, where at a certain point, no one, and I believe no one will be able to handle all these softwares that at least we can see right here. You have Angular, you have React, Django, Laravel. No one, and this is I think that this is a rule. I believe it's a rule. No one in the world, whether he's working with Amazon, working with Facebook, it surely can happen. But the fact that if we want to learn all of this all at one shot, it's impossible. I mean, it's not 100%, but starting with this, it won't take us to any path down the line. So the most advice that I'm going to be sharing with the audience is from what you see here under the web development section. Take what you think is going to be easy for you to learn, is going to make your life or the thing that you're going to be doing you're going to be more happy on them. So take one of these, one or two, which mainly one is going to be for backend development, one is going to be for front-end development, and then learn it the hard way, so that you can get easily a job on this technology. And again, the job market is really big. It's full. I mean, as if we go by if we take like a benchmark statistics, we might see that React Native is one of the most popular framework used nowadays. But still, there are many companies maybe using Angular, using Django. So there is really no specifics, but it depends on you what exactly you want to learn from the web development section, and then the software or the web framework that's going to make you happy on the way that you are on the things that you are doing, and it's going to open for you doors for more progress and then developing your skills in a good way. The next thing, which is as a service. So as we all know, nowadays, more of the big companies, including IBM, Amazon, Google, everything is going through the cloud. So as a service, we have three main sections, or three main, I would say, applications, which we call them as a service. We have the first thing, which is the SaaS, which stands for software as a service, which is very much software as a service. It's, I would say, it's like a platform where it's going to provide you with all the infrastructure that you need. including the networking, including the servers, the storage, the data, the application, everything you have, or you basically need in terms of implementing your application or system. The software as a service provides you with everything that you need, which is smoothly running on the cloud. So you don't have to worry or keep monitoring the servers. The server went down, the service is up, and so on. That's regarding the software as a service. The next item which we have, we call it the PaaS, which is a platform as a service. Platform as a service is quite different or slightly different than a software as a service, which we're going to see the difference in the next slide. But in a few words, the platform as a service is basically, I would say it's like, I'll give an example. It's like Heroku app, which is a cloud application where it allows us to host our softwares and application right there. The benefit of doing this on a cloud base, it's reducing the cost. It's less time consuming for keeping monitoring the servers, monitoring the input output for the applications, the storage, and so on. And then we have the third item, which is IaaS, which stands for Infrastructure as a Service. Now, these are basically the most three items or three sections that we have on the cloud nowadays. Most of the companies are looking for qualified engineers or talent students who do have knowledge and expertise to one of these three main items. So now looking at the difference between on-site and then the three other items that we have. The first column, which says on-site, it refers to basically systems which I believe some of the companies in Morocco are still using them. They have, as all of you or most of you may seen this before, when you go to a company or startup, they still have servers within their location. So they have a server room where they have to keep monitoring the networking, monitoring the servers, the virtualization, and so on. So this what we had in the past, which what we call it on-site. So on-site, what it's in green is what we all have to manage. So we have to manage the application, the data, the runtime, and so on. Now, due to the revolution of the cloud-based solutions, the first thing that we start having is IaaS, which is Infrastructure as a Service. What this platform or this solution basically provides us is with a smoothly and then automated monitoring for items which are virtualization, server, storage, and networking. This way, the engineer or the developer, it doesn't have to worry about this. The main items that he can or he needs to be working on them, which is developing the application, the model, the view, the control, whatever like a design pattern that the developer is going to be following. He needs to monitor the data, security, runtime, the middleware, and the operating system. Now, years after that, we had what we call it the platform as a service. Platform as a service provides more extra features, which the platform itself is managing in an easy way, all happening on the cloud automatically. In addition to what we saw previously on the infrastructure, within the platform, we got the operating system, which is pre-built or pre-installed on the platform. You got the middleware and then the runtime. The only thing that you have to worry about, which is two main items, the application and then the data. The last thing, which is the SaaS, software as a service, which is really a huge, it made a huge impact in terms of the technology and then the way that the application or the systems have been built. And then most of the companies, I would say 80 to 90% of the companies are using solutions as software as a service, which, as you can see, everything that we need to have on a regular or on a default application or system, everything is going to be managed by the provider. In terms of software as a service, it could be like a Salesforce, it could be Microsoft Dynamics, and other solutions as well. Now, with that said, I would like to share few technologies or few solutions that I highly recommend that every one of you take time to learn them, maybe have certification on them, which we're gonna talk about the certification, whether if they matter or does not matter. We're gonna come to it in a few minutes. So keep talking about the cloud. So these are basically one of the most popular cloud-based solutions that are like running tens or thousands of applications worldwide, including Amazon Web Services, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and so on. So if you are, whether you want to like keep learning or have your career in terms of web development, or maybe you want to be like a DevOps engineer, I highly recommend, which really, to be honest, I was not aware of this when I was at college. That's the reason I'm sharing this with you. This is really the future, and then or what the companies, the most big companies are looking for. It's whether they are looking for architectures to design the system and the infrastructure within the cloud. They are looking for developer, or they are looking for support engineering. So what you see here on this slide are the main top cloud-based solutions, which I recommend everyone to go take classes on them. You can take classes from the company itself, or you can just get classes on Udemy and then have hands on them and then get certified to have more chances to get your opportunity on the job market. All right, the third item or the third section regarding the trending technologies, which I'm going to be referring to, which is the BI and the big data, business intelligence and the big data, which is basically one of the classes that I'm taking right now as a master's student. And as what I would like to share with you here is some of the most as well popular technologies or popular solutions companies are using for handling their big data storage, for processing a lot of analytics, and then in terms of providing more statistics and then recommendation systems for whether for them to improve their productivity and as well improve their sales or for their end users or their end clients. The main 4 sections or the main 4 components that we have, whether we are talking about BI or big data, starting from the storage. So the storage is basically where we can store our huge amount of data. As you can see, we have Hadoop, we have MongoDB, we have other databases such as Cassandra, Snowflake, and so on. Some of the popular databases where you can easily run them as long as you have expertise, whether on a SQL Server, PostgreSQL, you won't really have like a hard time learning these databases and then having a good understanding and the knowledge on the way in the way that they work. The next item, which is mining, or in other words, we call it the data mining. It's basically how you clean up the data, or in other words, how you follow what we call it the ETL process, which stands for extract, transform, and load the data. So mining is mainly for processing or for implementing these 3 main steps, and then how to have the data as much as cleaner as possible that we can, remove all the anomalies and so on. So some of the technologies that we're using on this, as we can see, Rapid Miner, you can use MapReduce and so on. The next or the third component, which is analytics, it's mainly for analyzing the data, which we went through the mining section. So after doing the data mining, having the data as clean as possible that we can, then it comes the section for analytics. Analytics is basically transforming the data that we have to information that's going to be readable by the end users, by the decision makers, and is going to have an impact or a bonus in a positive way for the company, including but not limited to the huge number of analytics softwares that we have. We have our studio programming language that we're using for that. We have Apache Spark, which is based on my humble experience or what I'm learning as of now during the master. Apache Spark has become one of the most popular technology or tools which are used within the analytics section when we talk about the big data. In addition, you have the Splunk report, Kafka, and so on. The last but not the least thing, which is visualization. It's very much having the data or the information that we're going to be analyzing on the previous steps displayed or implemented to end users in a more sophisticated way and easy way to learn. So for this, we are mainly using one of the most popular reporting tools, including Tableau, Power BI, ClickSense, and so on. So in this section, or mainly for this component that we are talking about right here, which is the BI and the big data, again, the same way as I mentioned for the cloud development or for DevOps engineer, if you are more interested on BI or big data, these are mainly the most popular, the most evolving and on-demand job positions based on what I see here within the US, and it's basically applicable in Europe, Morocco, and everywhere in the world. So the same thing, I recommend that everyone or whoever is interested on this section or on this type of development to take courses, because really what we are taking at college is not really sufficient for us. It doesn't cover at least 20 or 30%. So e-learning by yourself, making the most of your time where you are free, you have vacations, you have classes, make this time for your benefits, learn more as much as you can in terms of technology, whether it's technology, it's any other domain that you are pursuing a master's degree or bachelor's degree on this, because really, as we see right now, and this is just from my perspective, we don't really have time. The world is evolving in a bigger way, and then from what we see right now in this, I'm going to just say it clearly, from what we see right now in this pandemic, we have I won't say companies, but we have countries. They are making huge efforts on finding solutions, and they're making the life as much as easier for everyone worldwide due to the different circumstances that we are living. So we would like to be like those countries and really creating solutions and creating, I would say, applications within our home country. So, and we, as when I say we, I'm talking about myself and the students that are here on the audience. We are really the ones that can make an impact in our home country, and then having Morocco become one of the most popular or successful countries in the world, whether from technology side, from economy, from social life, and so on. So it's all in your hands. Don't wait really for anyone that's gonna guide you or gonna show you what's wrong, what's right. There is no harm as long as you are learning and then learning from your mistakes and then making efforts to learn the hard way. You're gonna have a good impact and then positive impact on your environment, on your community, and then the last thing is in our country. The next thing that I'm gonna be talking about is certifications. And then one of the questions that I got from a friend, which I believe he's with us here on the event, does really certification matters? It's really based on two scenarios. If you are an experienced developer or engineer, you'd already have a number of experience, whether using AWS developer or architect, the same way as for Salesforce, and then any other softwares or technology that you will be you've been using and working with on your work environment. So here I would say qualification it's highly needed than certification. But on the other side, if you are fresh graduate, just recently had your bachelor degree or your master degree, and you are looking for joining the job market and then having experience, I really recommend that you take, again, time is really crucial at this moment. Make the most of it. Take your classes. Don't think that wasting money, whether you are purchasing classes online or just taking free classes, it doesn't really hurt us. It's an investment. Take it as an investment that you're gonna benefit from on the next 5 or a decade from now. So again, so my last comments about certification, it does matter actually. When you are a fresh graduate, you're just looking for new opportunities. Even if you're gonna have hands-on projects or hands-on just regular I would say labs that you had by yourself, the recruiter or the company they're not going to be highly taking a risk on hiring you unless you have a proof of certificate on the technology that you're going to be doing. In addition, when you are showing that I'm certified on this technology or this software development, the recruiter or the company knows that this member or this engineer is willing to learn on his career, he's willing to develop his career, so they're going to be there to help you, whether with taking extra classes on the technology that you're going to be working on, and then why not, maybe they're going to also be paying your tuition for master's degree, for PhD degree, and so on. My last, and here I'm almost coming to the last of my presentation right here. Your success, again, it really depends on you. As I said, make sure that you're doing the best that you can do, and there is no harm if you fail, if you do mistakes, as long as you are on your 20th, 30th. This is the time for mistakes and then for learning from failures. No one is gonna blame you, because we all still, like, I'm not gonna say teenagers, but we still, our generation is, we are learning the new items or the new technologies, the new social life that we have, which was not the same way maybe 2 or 3 decades back. So the last thing that I'm gonna leave you with before I move to the next section is really make your time as priority, have a learning path, and then as much as you can. Don't waste your time, especially in this period when you are a student or a bachelor student. Everything is gonna come afterwards. So you still have life to do, to go through. Everything is gonna come afterward, but make sure that you are learning the right things, and then what's gonna make an impact not only on you or on your, I would say, family, community, but also on your society. The last section or the last item that I'm going to be talking about, which is RIFTech, as Nuha mentioned before, founder and CEO at RIFTech, which I'm doing basically for now as a part-time. So still, as I'm a full-time employee or full-time software engineer, I created this company with really the intention is to share knowledge, provide opportunities, which we are still doing. So within RIFTech, we have a number of solutions, especially in the healthcare industry, which we are looking to have it implemented within our home country. So we are opening, more often we are opening a paid internship opportunities for especially Moroccan students who are still pursuing a bachelor or master degree on one of the most popular technologies, web development, big data, and so on. And then I won't really say the names, but we do have, as of now, I do have 3 persons working with me on the company or on the startup. One of them is, I would say, the CEO or the coordinator, who is managing all the legal documents, all the meetings, and so on with prospects, and then with the clients that we are looking to onboard on our company within Morocco. We have a full stack web developer who's doing really great job, and then I'm grateful to have him working with me, and he made a proof of that we as a Moroccan, where we want to like really make a big impact on our country, not only our country but worldwide. We are learning the hard way, and we have one intern, marketing intern from DAY-ENSA, who also she's also like having an internship with us for the past I would say month and a half or 2 months, making social media posts, like telling the community about us, and then like capturing or attracting more prospects and leads in terms of whether building solutions for them or having them with the end-to-end consultation in terms of their project and needs. So here I welcome everyone to contact me either through my personal email or through LinkedIn if you have any questions, if you need any assistance, if you need any internships, as well as I'm really willing to invest on various projects. So any one of you, if he has any idea or project which he thinks is going to make a big impact on our regular life, feel free to share your idea through email. We can have a virtual meeting. You propose your idea, and then we discuss it more in depth. And if it was something that we think is going to be really making an impact, we are willing to have investment by RIFTech. So it's going to be self-investment that we're gonna do on your project, and we're gonna work with you, and we're gonna work together to make this project really happening, and then sharing it to the world wide, and then making a good impact on our life. So with that said, again, I hope this is gonna be as much as clear and simple as I could make it. Thanks again for the IEEE for the invite, and then I appreciate your time right here. So I think now we're gonna move to Q&A sessions. So it's for you, Nuha. If there are any questions, comments, feel free to ask them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osama, for all you said, and your speech were very intriguing and interesting, and okay, we'll start first question, which is, what do we mean by a techpreneur?
Sorry, what was the last thing? Tech?
What do we mean by a techpreneur? A techpreneur.
All right, techpreneur is mainly, I would say, doing entrepreneurship, but most likely in the technology side, not on the regular side. The difference, so we have basically two terms. When we say entrepreneur and then techpreneur, there is a difference. The first term, which is entrepreneur, is mainly a global term. It could be a businessman who's doing who's having business on real estate, maybe having a business on economy and so on. This one, we can call it entrepreneur. So he's doing various type of investments on different domains. But when we specify that we have a techpreneur, is mainly having investment on technology side, building softwares or applications that are going to be implemented on one of the most domains that we have. So techpreneur, it's pretty much as simple as I can say. It's investing on the technology side, whether building softwares or solutions from the scratch, or using out-of-the-box solutions that we have for building systems and projects that's going to make our life much more easier, and then we can have it on the market and search for all prospects and companies.
All right. And the question is, how could you find an internship from the USA? I'm sorry, I'm just tired.
No problem. I was really prepared for this question.
Yeah.
I would say it was an opportunity. Here is my humble history with internship. The first internship that I had here, it was back in 2017. So at that time, I was at my 4th year at DAY-ENSA Hiroshima, and then here in the US, one of my relatives had a company or a startup for consulting on the same domain. It was more on networking, development, and so on. So, and then as I had the ability to come here and travel as a resident, and then have opportunities to work here within the US, then I got this offer by him. So he offered me to come here and work with him on the various projects. Mainly, they were projects regarding web development, networking, and some of the volunteer work. So the first internship, I would say it was literally like a big bonus for me, and plus mainly for understanding the culture that the US culture, which is totally different than our Moroccan culture. Learning, making improve on the language, making improve on our, as I said, attitude, our time. So that was my first internship. After that, as I've been working with the same company, next as an assistant project coordinator, then we had the contract. We had project with one of the most multinational companies here in the US, which is exactly IDT. So that was really I would say, coincidence and an opportunity. So as I was working with the old company as project coordinator, and we had a contract to work with IDT, managing one of their processes or web project. And then again, one thing that maybe I missed to mention, which is networking. So as long as you are attending events, you are going to conferences, make sure that you take you take business cards, or you take information about the most people or humans that are making impact in the world. So with that said, so when we had this contract with this company, I got to get introduced to one of the most head directors, the CEO of the company, and so on. And then I submit my my application for internship. So I explained, or I had basically like a small interview about my skills, my background, what I can do, what I'm capable to do, and then that was like basically a good opportunity for me, where I had an internship, and that was my internship for the PFE, Project Strategy at Ensar Hosima. I had this internship right here with the same company that I'm now working with them as full-time software engineer for the past 2 years. So then for the 5 months that I had as an internship right here, I was mainly working as a CRM developer. The CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. This is a retail company selling various products to the end users. So I was mainly working on this project, building the CRM for them to keep track with the customers, with the partners, and so on. After that, so after finishing my internship right here, I went back to Morocco, having my my last, I would say my last conference, or my last presentation at the company. I'm sorry, at the school, for validating my project. Then I came back here, definitely to the States, in November 2018. I was also working with the same company as a part-time developer, and then within a few months, I was able to get my my position right here as full-time engineer. But still, so this is really like, I would say it's a rarely scenario that's going to happen or might happen for any one of us. So on my side, it was really opportunity that I made use of it. I learned a lot from this opportunity, and then at the end, I got this position within the company. But still, for those who are thinking or maybe willing to have experience outside of Morocco, whether Europe or France, as I said, the market is really big. It doesn't matter the certificate. I mean, not the certificate. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter the bachelor from where you are getting the bachelor. On my case, I'm still, as of now, working with the same company, but with the bachelor from Ensar Hosima, which I think no one's gonna say, or no one's gonna like agree that someone with a bachelor like this from Ensar with Al Hosima FEZ, Tangier, will be able to have a job overseas without having an extra master or an extra bachelor right there. But it's not really the case. What matters, and this is again from my small experience that I have right here, I'm gonna be talking especially about the US. What matters right here for companies is really the qualification more than the certification. As I know, within the company that I work with, I know a lot of colleagues that are working with me. They are really experienced on web development, on cloud development, but they don't have, like, I would say, degrees from maybe Harvard, from Oxford. They don't have this kind of certificate, or this kind of I would say the degrees. So most important thing is to be qualified on in the way or in the technologies that you are doing. So qualification is really more important than having a degree. A degree or a bachelor is nothing that, to be honest, is just like a paper which is proving that you had 5 years at college, but it doesn't really matter whether even you're gonna have it from Harvard. I know a lot of you, like people right here, they have college, they have like a experience, or they have colleges, bachelors from big companies, or I'm sorry, from big universities here in the US, but they're still looking or struggling to have a job offer. So focus, that's my advice, really focus more on your own e-learning, learn all the skills, learn as much as you can, pick one of the most trending technologies that I mentioned before, web, cloud, the big data. Pick one of them that you think you're gonna be doing good, and you're gonna be like improving your skills, and then go through it the hard way, and definitely you're gonna reach your success at the end.
Thank you very much. And the third and last question, and by the way, your answer was very clear and was very interesting. Thank you. Okay, the third and last question, what are the important characters or qualities you should have to be a CEO or a founder of a startup?
I would say I think I'm gonna summarize them in three main items. the first thing is to be a leader, not a CEO. When we're talking about the leader, which most of us had during our classes, whether in high school or at college, we were like talking about to be leadership more than a CEO. The difference is being a leader is take of yourself. You are not like the perfect one at the company or maybe the perfect one in the world. Every one of us is still learning, whether the big, I would say, the big CEOs of companies like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, or the CEO of Microsoft, everyone is still learning on his own path. So being a leader, that means you have to be also having impact. Doing tasks is not only assigning tasks to your employees, and you have to show proof of efficiency and then efforts that you are doing to build the startup or the company more than your employees are doing. This is the first thing. The second thing is you need to have trust. So trust people so that people can trust you. So whether you're going to be doing hiring for internships or doing hiring for full-time careers or full-time jobs, don't make it like the traditional way. There'll be everyone right here who's on the meeting or he's listening from social media. We went through this when we were applying for jobs on the market. You're gonna apply. You're gonna have the first interview, maybe the second interview, and then they're gonna say أنا أرد عليك. بالعربية باش يكون المعنى واضح. So here, like really the experience that I had, so I had two experiences in terms of hiring. The first thing is I hired one person working with me on my team here at IDT at the full-time position, because I was the only person working as a CM developer. I was the only resource right here. So I've been doing one of the developer who was really freshly graduated from college here in the US, and he's doing a great job. So it's the same thing I had in Morocco. So I hired a member from Morocco who's still pursuing a bachelor degree, who's working with me with one of the most like important projects that I wanna have them release it and implement it within our home country, and he's doing really an amazing job. I mean, I don't have anything to say about him. So the second item, like the second point that I'm gonna say is trust. So don't look at the CV or don't look at the resume. So like languages are really doesn't matter. Like someone who's speaking English, French, Spanish, and so on, the language is most likely a way or a tool for communication. It's not for being like famous or uh, like like what we say in French, prestige. So the language is a communication tool. So learning a language, it doesn't make you the CEO or leader, but it's just a communication tool that you can transmit the idea or the message from your with your customers, your colleagues at work, and so on. The third thing is prior to be a leader or CEO, or the third thing, which is the most important, is prior to create your own company, you have to have a good learning experience. As I believe our colleague Mohammed mentioned before, if it in a startup at the same time, it's something that you can do, and then you are allowed to invest in it. But investment is not really from the start. So I give you an example. I know a lot of people who start investing on different domains. It could be, I would say, like real estate, or investing on I would say entertainment, like restaurants, cafe, and so on, where they don't have prior knowledge about the industry, how it works, what is the process of the industry, what are the steps, and so on. So the last thing that I highly recommend is prior to make any investment, you should have a good learning experience, at least for 2 or 3 years, on the specific domain that you're going to have that you are willing to invest, whether it's technology, it's real estate, it's a healthcare. So you need to know the hard way how the system works on this domain. Then you are allowed to start investing on your own way.
Right. Thank you very much, Christina, for all your answers and your talk and your speech. That was very intriguing and that was very interesting. Thank you for being here. And I think now it's time to pass the word to our vice chair of IEEE ENSA Student Branch, Mr. Hamza Brom, and before passing the word, I just want to thank you all for watching this live. And yeah, I pass you the word, Mr. Hamza, and thank you very much, all the speakers. You were great, and of course, all the information was intriguing. And thank you again. I pass you the word, Hamza. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nuha. Their audience, we are arriving to closing this event. I prefer starting my word with a small recapitulate. As Mr. Mohsin Khdisi make light to jobs and career in the digital post-pandemic world. Secondly, Mr. Khalid Mshashed talk about self-employment and entrepreneurship in engineering, how to get started while managing uncertainty. Finally, a very beautiful example for Mr. Usam Al-Haddad, as long as it is a young engineer and technopreneur. To close this fabulous event, we are grateful firstly to our speakers, Sir Mohsin Khdisi, Sir Khalid Mshashed, Sir Usam Al-Haddad, Ms. Miriam Shraidi, and Ms. Huda Shakiri, our chair of IEEE Morocco, Sir Nasser Asim, and Sir Mohammed Al-Mujahid, ex-chair of IEEE Morocco. Thank you for all participating in success of this event, their audience. I want to thank as well our media committee, program committee, design committee, chair, subcommittee, and all our members. Thank you so much, guys. For our school community in FEZ, get ready for our recruitment. We are hearing very soon. Get prepared, and welcome for you all to part of our IEEE in FEZ students branch. See you very soon, and thank you so much.